Holy Joe rock and roll. This new old house with a tip on putting up shelves. Can a 3x5 index card help you put up shelves easier, better, faster? Yes, it can, and I'm going to show you how. For this installation, you need a few things. Obviously, a shelf. This is a heavy shelf unit from IKEA or IKEA. For one man to hold this and put it up, it's just too stressful. So you need a drill, obviously drill bits. You need some lac bolts to go into the wall, some plastic inserts, whatever they call these things, I forgot. A 3.5 index card, tape measure, helpful if you have a level. So let's get this thing started. I use this technique on putting up this other shelf right here because it's just too heavy for one guy just to hold it. You know, normally sometimes you put up a shelf, it has these holes already pre-drilled. These are reinforced with metal brackets. And, you know, typically you would pick it up, hold it, level it off, make some marks, and then put it down and drill. But this thing is freaking heavy. You know, it's just heavy. So I've come up with this technique to make it a lot easier. So what you do is, here is the back of the unit, okay? Here's where the hole is. If you take an index card, or really anything else, but you want to have something that's square, and just put it at the extreme corner. Now this is the extreme corner with this thing sticking out. And both ends look the same. Excuse me. So if you just set it there, and then go on the other side, and mark that green paper with a pencil. Mark that circle. What you'll end up with is something like this. Okay? So I did it already with another thing, and it lines up. Whoops. It lines up perfectly. See, there's the hole right there. Now, as long as you remember the correct corner, this is the corner, you can pick that thing up. Just take that piece, and I marked the wall side, the extreme corner I should say, and position that where you want it to go. So in my case, I want to go actually 20 centimeters below the bottom of this rack here, and assuming that this shelf here is level, which it is virtually level, it's almost perfectly level, we'll mark 20 centimeters down from here to the top corner of this piece of paper. I can mark this hole, and that's where I'm going to drill. Then I'll do the opposite on the other side. Obviously, you want to flip it and move it over to the other side, come down 20 centimeters from there, and mark my hole here. Of course, you want to try to make sure that it's level. You can run a level between the 2 points and make sure that it's level. Once you have, so that's it. You know, if you just, by using this card and knowing where you want to drill, so 20 centimeters below here, the right corner, and flip it 20 centimeters below the left corner, that's where I want to drill my holes. I can be pretty certain that that's going to be accurate. Of course, just make sure that the holes are leveled up. Put a cross in there. So let's get to the next step. Let's do some drilling, marking and drilling. Okay, so I have my 2 marks, one on the right side, one on the left side. This is the mark at 20 centimeters where the top of the shelf will be. This is where the bolt is going to go through the wall. Now, if you're unsure of any of this, this is when you could pick it up the shelf, line it up just to make sure, double make sure, okay? That you have it at least lined up. Now, because of the way these lag bolts work and because the hole is pretty big, you are going to have a little bit of a fudge factor and if you're not exactly accurate, meaning that you can move the shelf when you tighten it down so that it's in the right position. I'm also using washers, right? Should have mentioned that. Some washers with those lag bolts, which is going to help hold that bolt up against that reinforced metal correctly in case it's not perfect, okay? That's going to give you a little bit of extra support and also prevent it from falling back out. All right, let's go on to the next step, drilling. Got my holes drilled. These are 10mm holes, and I've already seated the jackets in there, the retaining washers, whatever retaining plastic things. What I recommend, especially for concrete, always start with a smaller bit. I started with a 6mm, and then I went followed up with a 10mm. It just makes it a little bit easier, and you have more control. So those two holes are drilled, they're seated, and now we can put up our shelves. I need some, so I have a little helper just to stabilize it. Put it up, we've got the bolts in. You can see that the shelf is pretty stable, pretty level, almost perfectly level. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And the markings are perfect. The bolts are in. I just need to tighten them down, and then my helper can go. All right, that's the completed job. It is level, and like I said, with these, you have a little bit of wiggle room where you can slide it up, slide it down to make sure that it's level. Best practices, of course, is to crank that thing down and have a washer that's going to hold onto these grips, so it should hold pretty tight. Same thing on both sides. And now I've got not only another shelf, but I've got a shelf on top of the shelf for some smaller or lighter items. All right. Well, this has been Holy Joe Rock and Roll for this new old house. I hope this has been a helpful tip. Gives you an idea how you can use one of these to make putting up a shelf, especially a heavy shelf or anything heavy, a lot easier. Using this as a template to make the markings so you don't have to hold the thing up there and deal with, wiggling and wiggling, especially if you're alone or no one can really help you. All right? Till next time, keep it real. I'm Holy Joe Rock and Roll for this new old house.